Ahead and start. I'd like to convene, it's kind of sad, right? Convene the last meeting of the year. So in honor, I'm going to say that we're going to convene the last meeting of the Jedi Council of the year, because I think that we're the only ones from Peoria and Glendale that are not currently waiting in line to see the Star Wars movie. However, as Master Jedi Johnigan often says, not taking education seriously is a path to the dark side, if I quoted you correctly. So with that, let's get started. We're going to go ahead and start with our first item of business, is our moment of silence. Gives us a chance for about 30 seconds to kind of pull our thoughts together and get ready to go. And then we'll go right into our Pledge of Allegiance, led by Marcel from a winning team, Centennial High School. So join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll start with the moment of silence first.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcel. All right, first item on the agenda after our opening exercises there is our staff recognition, quite possibly our favorite time of night. I hope we have some good ones as always. Welcome, Ms. Airy.
Thank you very much, President Bullock, members of the board, Dr. Santarelli. Of course, we have some fabulous recognitions this evening. We have some students, and we also have some adults we'll be recognizing this evening. We normally start with the students, but I know a few of them are a bit detained getting here this evening, so we're going to allow them a few more minutes to get here. So if you'll allow me to go out of order and recognize some of our governing board members first. Tonight, we're going to recognize 4 of our seasoned governing board members for their accomplishments in continuing education and training. Give you just a brief history. In 1992, the Board of Directors of the Arizona School Boards Association, many of you know them as ASBA, adopted the Academy of Boardsmanship program to recognize the continuing education and in-service development of local governing board members. The awards given under the Academy program are recognition for completion of significant accomplishments in a specific program or continuing education. And at this time, I am going to invite some of them to come up. We do have something to present with them this evening. Governing Board President, Matt Bullock, Governing Board Clerk, Mrs. Pingarelli, and Governing Board members, Ms. Doan and Mrs. Connect. And if you would join Dr. Santarelli, we do have an award to present with you this evening. I'm going to ask Mr. Savoy to assist me so I don't have to step away from the microphone here. Thank you, Mr. Savoy. Thank you. And I am pleased to share with you, and Mr. Savoy, if you can hand those to Dr. Santarelli, pleased to share with you that President Bullock received a certificate of boardsmanship with 39.22 units completed. Mrs. Pingarelli received a certificate of orientation with 7.25 units completed. Ms. Doan also received a certificate of orientation with 7.25s completed. And last but certainly not least, Mrs. Connect received a Master of Boardsmanship in the 3rd cluster, completing 245.16 continuing education units in core curriculum areas. This is a very impressive accomplishment. Our board members do so much both in this boardroom and then outside in the community, in our schools, and of course with the continuing education. So thank you for all you do and congratulations. I know Dr. Santarelli has some tokens to present to you this evening and some certificates, and I know Mrs. Connect received already. She received a pin from ASBA. So very proud of all of you, and I know we're going to take a quick photo of you if we can. Oh, she did. Look at that. Quick as can be. It was quick. Thank you so much. Congratulations, and thank you to our governing board members. Well, we'll move on to our students, and as I said, we may have a few of them that are joining us in progress this evening, but we will begin with, as Mr. Bullock said, a winning team, and a very, very winning team, in fact. This evening, I'm honored to present to Division I Centennial High School's varsity football team, often referred to as the Powerhouse, a very special recognition. On November 27th at the University of Phoenix Stadium, Centennial High School took on Desert Ridge and carved out their phenomenal season with a 28-6 win against Desert Ridge High School. This is their 5th state title since 2006, a very well-deserved achievement for these student athletes. Here with us from Centennial High School this evening, the principal, Chris Lopez-Lira, undoubtedly very proud, if you would stand, Mrs. Lopez-Lira, as well as the athletic director, Brett Palmer, head coach, Richard Taylor, who is just named as the Coach of the Year, I understand. Coach Hal Borhauer, who has joined us as well, if you would stand, Mr. Borhauer. And team captains with us tonight, of course, deserving of the biggest round of applause we can all muster. Boston Sanders, Marcel Perez, and John Rincon. They deserve a huge round of applause. Congratulations to all of you. Just a phenomenal, phenomenal accomplishment. I think we have some family members here as well. We thank you so much for your ongoing support of these athletes and for all that you do to support them on and off the field. So congratulations to parents. And I'll just note that obviously if we had the entire team here, they would more than fill the capacity in this room. So these gentlemen are representative of an entire team, a group of individuals who worked incredibly hard this year to comprise the Centennial High School's winning team. So a big shout out to your entire team on just a huge achievement, and know how proud we are not only of you and your team, but of Centennial High School. So thank you for that accomplishment and bringing it to the Peoria Unified School District. Let's give them one more round of applause. And at this time, I'll invite the coaches up to the podium. I know that there are maybe some comments or questions from the governing board, and so if you'd like to come up and possibly address them. And then just a reminder that I think we do want to get some additional photos of you gentlemen outside after the recognition. So when we're all through here, we'll have you head outside so we can take some photos outside as well.
Real quick, Coach, would you
Thank
mind if we
you.
invite your athletic director and principal up too? We'll have questions for all three of you, if you
I
don't
sure
mind.
would, absolutely.
No one escapes a recognition around here. And Mr. Borhauer, would you mind also? Why did I know that he was going to say that? Thank you very much. If you don't mind, we'll have some questions for you, because what you do represents, and our men here represent amazing accomplishment, but it's more than just winning a game. So let's start, Ms. Pangarelli. Questions, comments?
Well, I was told to keep the mic close to my mouth since I don't speak very loud. No, I just want to say congratulations to all of you. Our daughter's graduated from Centennial, so it has a great place in our hearts. No, I just want to say congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Connect?
Well, is this on? I said in an earlier event today that when I travel the state, the Peoria School District is the envy and an idol for so many school districts around the state, and this is just one of many reasons why. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Jonigan?
Yes, again, more great comments, and you make us all proud. I, too, have had a daughter graduate from Centennial. I do have a son that is in the freshman portion of your program. I'm sorry?
He needs to put some weight on.
We'll get him there. I guess he's already joined your weight training program for the rest of the year, so it's working. But no, in all seriousness, a quick question to you, Coach Taylor. This is not the first championship you've won and attained at this school, and it seems to be a more frequent occurrence at whatever level your team is playing at. How, any insight, tips of how you continuously drive what is always a new set of players to that ultimate level, all working together for the common goal, and like this, you're achieving that goal? Any special tips or What's the magic behind the curtain there?
I'm not sure it's magic, but I do know this, that if there's going to be a good football program, it has to start from the district first. You guys have to be interested, you have to care, and you do. And then you also need to have a principal, an athletic director that you work closely with, that they care. And then also to have great coaches, which we do. We have coaches, the offensive and defensive coordinator doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, they don't fish, they don't bowl, they don't golf, they do football. That's what they do. And also, fortunately, we have players that have bought into that. Football is not the most important thing in my life, and it's not the most, I hope it's not the most important thing in anybody's life on our team. But if we're going to do this, we're going to do it as well as we can to make our community, our school, and our families proud of us. And that's exactly what these boys did this year.
Well, it was a very impressive, I was there at the game, and it was very impressive. I thought it was well played, and hats off, congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome. Mrs. Doan, any comments?
Well, I would like to say congratulations, and to these young men, I think that this amount of effort shows the ability to focus very well, and that's what it takes to get through life, to be able to focus on a goal and accomplish it. And I want to congratulate you and encourage you to expend that energy in whatever direction you choose for your life ahead, and you'll be successful like you are now. So congratulations.
First, I want to recognize, which I apologize, I did not do, our former president, Mr. Hal Borhauer, so thank you for being here. We know you're a huge part of Centennial and why they win, so thank you, and also for all your work on the board. So now I'm going to ask, Coach, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask the other three there, with your principal, athletic director, and coach, a question. We always talk about competition. Right, let me step back. I look at education as a three-legged stool, and it's not a unique concept of mine, of course. It's academics, it's the arts, and it's competition. And those three things create the whole person. And if you take any one of those legs off, if you cheat the arts program, if you cheat sports and competition, or you cheat academics, the kids suffer. And they end up suffering as adults as well. That's well documented. So let's take away the competition part. Mr. Jonigan did a great job, and thank you, Coach, for the aspect of what does football mean. But now I'd like to ask on the academic side, because it really is. I mean, you basically have built a powerhouse that rivals many junior colleges, quite honestly. So that's great, and you guys did that. So that's exciting to see. But from the academic point of view, what and how do you mix the academics and the competition to create the whole student at Centennial High School?
Well, I think Coach does a really good job of intertwining our competition into the classroom. So if you're going to compete on the field, you're also going to compete in the classroom. So, you know, the life lessons that he instills in those guys on the football field, again, they intertwine in the classroom. You know, time management, resilience, adversity. I can sit here and tell you all these student athletes went through a great deal of adversity on the field. And then again, it intertwined into the classroom. You're going to have some adversity in the classroom. You're going to have to, you know, suck it up, and they do a great job. And again, I think it's a great testament to Coach Taylor and his staff of all those life skills and life lessons that they've instilled in all of our football players at all three levels, not just the varsity program, but the freshmen, the JV, and the varsity. So while we do say, you know, compete on the field, you know, Coach Taylor does an awesome job of saying you guys need to compete in the classroom as well, and that's a huge piece of why they are so successful.
Great. And as a principal, you're the CEO of the school. You're really the CEO of this learning company, if you will, and you have all the different components that make it up, but you are the CEO. So as the CEO of Centennial High School, tell me your angle on how sports and academics create opportunity. Because a lot of times, let's be honest, people look at, I was the same thing when I was in high school, was the jocks, right? You just play and you don't learn anything, you skip through school. I don't believe that's true in Peoria. So how does the competition, the academics, create opportunity for when they leave our district?
I agree with you. Our school, we try to all live to the mantra of creating a culture of achievement, whether that's in the classroom or on the field or on the court. And our students own that. Our teachers own that culture. And so we also have a responsibility as educators to provide as many opportunities that we possibly can so that our students are well-rounded and that they leave our schools being able to be successful in the next level of their life, whether that's college, career. So that's what we try to do.
Good, thank you for doing that. And
Thank
last, Mr. Borhauer, you have an interesting mix because you were on the board for so many years and coach for so many years, and you're intertwined in that community. How can the board better support PUSD athletics?
I think just from the perspective of the board, just supporting those programs, not necessarily athletics, but the French club and the German club and a CTE program and any kind of special event that gets kids engaged. Because once they're engaged, some of those kids in the CTE programs are more engaged than some of the athletes are. So the high school experience then becomes more than just a classroom. It becomes an experience and a learning experience. And one of the things that I really like about Coach Taylor, and I'm lucky enough, this has been my 25th year I've been with Coach Taylor, so I'm lucky to have been there for a while. I guess I do something right because he keeps me around. And the principal hasn't tossed me yet either. So, but the motto of the team was teammates, self. So the game is bigger than any one individual. And so I think as kids become enrolled in extracurricular activities at school, no matter what it is, they learn that the education is bigger, the world is bigger than just them sitting in the classroom and getting that A. And so I think it's the whole child getting the education. Athletics is a big part of it. But some of those other kids in those other clubs are just as dedicated to building robots and those kinds of things. And I think that's what makes them successful students, is they get a passion. And by the way, I learned some math and English along the way of working on my passion.
All right. That's good. Thank you very much. And Coach Taylor, I can't believe 25 years. You only look about 10 years older than that. So that's good for you for your secret that you do. So, well, thank you very much. And again, gentlemen, appreciate it. It's, as a parent with kids in Peoria schools, Liberty, sorry. Kids go to Liberty, but you know, it doesn't matter. We're all part of the same family. Thank you for what you do, because quite honestly, yes, it's great that you win games, and yes, it's amazing what you won, but you also bring good attention to Peoria schools. And as you know, you're old enough and mature enough to see the politics of education and funding problems and fighting this way and that way. It's really important that we show our community that we excel on all levels. Arts, you know, the French club, athletics, football, and you are helping us to show the local community that PUSD is a destination to create the whole kid, to provide opportunity for whatever you want to do. You want to be a rock star, a carpenter, who cares? As long as you have your goals set and you're learning. So thank you for helping us to look good and vicariously making you guys more successful. So appreciate that. So, and thank you all very much too. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
And President Bullock, if I must, I have to point out Marcel's dad in the back of the room with his shirt that says back-to-back football champions. I think that's pretty impressive gear you have on there, so thank you. Big congratulations to Centennial. And I think while we have you all here, if we could, maybe we'll take a photo in here before we take one outside, because this happens to be a nice Centennial red we have as a backdrop here. We had this installed just for you this evening. So if you'd like, we can have you come up front here, and we'll take a photo up here first.
And Mr. Bullock, if I could, while they're getting ready for their photo, I think most of us know this, but maybe those that are watching do not know this. Having the opportunity to have a D1 championship in the West Valley has not occurred since 1984. And so unprecedented, in addition to that, is that in AIA history, there has not been a team that has won D2 and then in the subsequent year won D1. So truly a record-setting experience, and certainly, too, I'd like to offer my personal congratulations to the team and the leadership, and certainly Coach Taylor for continuing to help our students become all that they can be.
Good looking, too.
Yes.
And smart, they are really smart.
Good.
They're the leaders.
You know, it's hard to win football unless you are smart. It's not just brawn, you guys know that. You have to have intelligence to figure out the strategy of the game. You can be, a lot of huge guys never make it. A lot of smaller guys who are smart make it. So.
Since 1980, I've done a study on bench press for GPA, and I can tell
Really? Have you published that? You should. No, you should. You should. That's great. Right. Got pictures, Dad?
I think we're good.
Got pictures? Do you want a picture with your son? I think you should. With that shirt, you have to. Is that all right, Marcel? All right. Yeah, with a cool shirt like that, you have to. And post it tonight, too. Yeah, all right. That's it? Okay, can we do it again? Would you guys mind? That's always the best part of the meeting. Yeah, he's like, no, we don't. Dr. Centennial, do you have something for us tonight?
I have a couple of other items that I'd like to share. Certainly recently, the city of Peoria hosted their annual holiday festival choir competition. And for those of you that had the good fortune of joining us during our luncheon, it was the Peoria High School Encore Choir that won first place. So truly amazing, and if you were there, you got to hear some really remarkable young people. We have a PE teacher that has really achieved something remarkable as well. She's being recognized by the Dairy Council of Arizona as a Fuel Up to Place 60 winner. And as a result, she's going to Hawaii and will be recognized at halftime of the Pro Bowl. So Stacy Ramirez from Sunset Heights Elementary School, pretty impressive. We also have a Cactus High School senior, Preston Guerrera, who was nominated recently and received the Bolesworth Character Award, which is a national award recognizing character and sportsmanship on high school football teams. And as a result, Preston will be listed in the credits of the movie Greater, which is coming up in a nationwide theater. Pretty impressive. And lastly, but certainly not least, we all believe very heavily in the importance of community service. And we've had a number of our students recently recognized by the city of Peoria for their Community Partnership Award. And if I could, the students Angie Bell from Centennial, Javon Freeman from Peoria, Joshua Freed from Sunrise, Madeline Benavides from Liberty, Megan Zimmerman from Sunrise Mountain, Olivia Thomas from Centennial, and Sydney Jenner from Peoria. So hats off to all of those students. Thank you.
All right.
Oh,
Thank you.
one more.
Of course.
We also have someone here seated at our table who was recently elected as president of the Arizona School Board Association. So leadership, not just here in Peoria, but leadership across the state of Arizona. Congratulations, Mrs. Connect.
Speech. Not really. We'll agendize that for another meeting. All right. Dr. Cernerelli, anything else?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's it. Thank you very much for the staff recognitions. Move on to the next item on the agenda is our board recognitions, a chance for board members to discuss things they've done during the week or since the last meeting, or they want to bring attention to anything. Start, Ms. Pangarelli, any board recognitions tonight? Okay. Ms. Connect.
Thank you, Mr. Bullock. I wanted to publicly thank Colonel Yates and the Peoria High School National Junior Air Force ROTC that came out to the Arizona School Boards Association annual conference and led us in their presentation of the colors. Very impressive. Made us very proud.
Mr. Johnigan. Okay. Ms. Stone?
No.
Okay. I just want to say board recognition to the fantastic administration that we were able to have a little celebration with today with a little Christmas party. A little disappointed that Dr. Centennial did not start Jingle Bells and did not break out into song, but he promised he'll do that maybe at another time. So, very good. So thank you very much. No time like the present. Yes. We can add something to the agenda tonight. Oh, yeah, no, I get the dirty look. All right, move on to number 6, request to address the governing board on matters not included on the agenda. Mrs. McCarty, any green slips tonight? All right, we'll move on to the next item then. Number 7, address agenda and consider adoption or recommend changes. Again, a chance for the board members to rearrange agenda items for expediency or to make things move one way or the other as far as timing. Anybody want to rearrange any of the items tonight? Okay, move on to the next item. All right, presentation and discussion on performance of the Valley Schools Insurance Programs and Management Group. So we are excited for this because the Valley Schools insurance programs comprise such a big part of what we do, and it's a very, very successful program. I've sat on the board for the past couple of years. I know Ms. Pangarelli and the Employee Benefits Trust, so it's a very, very powerful program that not only saves us some money, but helps provide better benefits and better insurance, workers' comp, and whatnot for our district. So thank you very much for being here tonight. It's good to see you. Mr. Hicks, are you going to tee it off?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, President Bullock, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Centennial, Dr. Cruz, colleagues and community members. Thank you very much for allowing me to present tonight. And I am being joined here in this presentation by Mr. Tom Elliott from Valley Schools. He's the executive director there, administrator.
Executive Director of Member Services.
Executive Director of Member Services. So I appreciate him joining us in our presentation. This is an annual presentation that we go through each year. So, all right.
Wow. One of those presentations.
Yes. The force will be with us. We'll just take a nice little pause.
Remember the part I keep on old music, having one of our choir or a band, one of our schools, we perfect them to the choir right now while this is going on. Proves my point, everybody listens.
If they get partway into the song, we'd be ready to go.
I turn it off for a minute.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's see if I got control. Okay, so just quickly, we're going to just go over a little bit of the history. We do have a new board member, but just it's always good to remember why and what we're doing. And then we'll go through the four main areas, the Valley Schools Insurance Trust, really just summary level, and we'll do a little bit of tag teaming here between me and Mr. Elliott, going back and forth, and then obviously answer any questions. So first off, and sorry if this is somewhat redundant, but the history is a little bit important of why we're here and why do we have Valley Schools. Back in the early 80s, school districts experienced a phenomenon of the carriers. It was it was using just a regular private marketplace, and in the early 80s, Arizona and schools, a little bit different than the rest of the nation, and national carriers coming in, they started having misunderstanding, not understanding how schools went, how the claims were going, and they literally were doubling the rates every single year. There was a lot of instances across the valley or across the state of the proposal the next year would come up twice. Districts were paying it. It continued to double, and districts were continuing to pay it. At one point, they just stopped offering to a number of districts, and there was no ability out there to purchase the insurance, the property casualty and liability insurance. The legislature stepped in and created the ability to create trust across the state, and Valley Schools was one of those that created it. And so you had Peoria, Deer Valley, and Paradise Valley join together and create the Valley Schools Insurance Trust to fill the void as the marketplace evaporated in that sense. And so coming from that, you could see 8 years later, with a successful pool working with the property casualty liability or the insurance trust, they did the same thing with the workers' comp, and then a decade later, they did the same thing with the Valley Schools Employee Benefit Trust. And then about 10 years ago, with those three main areas, they created a Valley Schools Management Group that kind of oversaw and provided some direction over those three areas. Okay, so this is might be a little bit hard to read. I apologize. I'll hit some of the highlights as I'll struggle to read it too. But from a financial statement, so we do present every year the financial statements to the governing board and the public. And so for the Valley Schools Insurance Trust, thank you very much. You can see we have our operating revenue, which is our contributions. That comes out of our M&O budget. So we will pay the contribution to Valley Schools Insurance Trust, and then we purchase through Valley Schools the reinsurance, and then there's the money available for the claims. They manage the claims, and you can see we have operating expenses of $1 million. This is actually a 29% decrease from the previous year. And then there is that money is one of the big benefits of Valley Schools is money. They see our trends. They know what's going on. They'll take the idle money and it gets invested. They know what the short-term needs are by and large and long-term needs. And so it actually does generate some interest and some additional funds for those dollars. And so that's sitting there, and you can see that increase. And you can see there's a net negative change before the reserves, but then we do have money set aside for those IBNR, those incurred but not reported claims, and those get adjusted every year by the actuarial and our financials, and you can see that actually went down, or those liabilities were reduced, which then put more money back into the fund. So our net position actually increased by about 17%. So it went from $5 million at the beginning of the year to 5.8 or nearly 5.9 by the end of the year. So that is, in general, it's positive. One of the things I do normally look at is, I'm looking at summary data really quick, and I'm looking at how much was revenue coming in and what were the expenses. And you can see that does probably provide still some level of concern from that standpoint.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Good. Actually, if you can scroll to the top of that, if you want to do, just because that's, I've heard that question a couple of different times. Sorry, the income statement. The $928,000 for the reinsurance. You want to just give a quick definition of what that is?
Yeah, that is, we might be looked at independently here. We do pull our experience and all of our information together, and then Valley Schools, their team will go out into the private market and purchase reinsurance above certain thresholds to cover us. So being fully insured, you don't want one catastrophic claim to wipe you out. And so we purchase thresholds at a high-level thresholds and $300,000, or that's medical.
The
sorry, I
self-insured
grabbed the wrong
retention
one.
on the Valley Schools Insurance Trust, I believe, is, I know it's $1 million for liability, and I believe it's either $100,000 or $250,000 per property. I can't recall. But yeah, exactly what Mr. Hicks said is you retain a certain amount of risk when you have these trusts, and then you go out and buy reinsurance to protect you against the big numbers. And that's what there is. And they present it as an offset to the revenues, but that's the accounts.
Right. The reason I bring that up to explain that is that's important to see because, myself, I've been on the board for a while. I've seen some claims that would have devastated the district or Paradise Valley or Deer Valley. Literally devastated our financial position where we would have to be writing a very, very large check to get our reserves back up for the next unfortunate rainy day. So by having that, in essence, that umbrella or that policy or that stop-loss policy on top of it gives us some protection. You pay for it, but it is, having seen the claims over the year, and Mr. Elliott knows far more than I do, seen some of the claims that have hit, again, it could have caused substantial financial problems for us if we didn't have that extra policy. So I just wanted to just be able to explain that because it does show that we're taking the extra effort to protect ourselves from those catastrophic incidents. So thank you.
Thank you very much, President Bullard. And then I'll let Mr. Elliott speak about it.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Hicks, you mentioned that the trust actually takes some of those funds and invests them. Could you expand on what kind of investments?
I can. It's not my area that I work on, but you're correct. The trust invests all of the money in reserves. It's any investment that's allowed under law. I don't have the profile of what investments, but it could be mortgage-backed securities. It could be, I just looked at, we revised the policy yesterday, and I'm trying to look right at it. Double A or better corporate bonds, could be in mortgage-backed securities, certain mortgage-backed securities, any number of things, but it's all identified in statute as to what you can invest in. And in Valley Schools, we have an investment management company who identifies the investments to be made. The name of the company is Sage. They're out of Austin, Texas. And then we have a custodian of those, and that is Morgan Stanley. And so those two kind of watch each other, and Mr. Davison in our business office kind of watches those two too. So it's kind of a three-way check. Yeah, idle funds are invested, and Valley Schools earns a much greater rate than you do earn on your funds with the treasurer.
Yes.
And you get to spend these funds, and the funds in the treasury don't. So
Correct.
good stuff.
Yeah. But there is a financial, President Bullock, members of the board, we do have the Valley Schools Management Group sets an investment policy, and it's in line with the public trust laws, and probably don't even go up to the threshold of risk that we probably could go in that sense, because not just for the level of risk, but also, we also have needs. You know, some of these you need to go out longer term. We're not going to commit ourselves to super long-term investments in that sense, so we try to do a balance, and I think I've heard from some people that think there's a level of redundancy with the Sage and the Morgan Stanley, that both can do the job by themselves, but yet we both have them both employed to do it. But we do believe that, you know, they're both really looking at each other and doing a double check, as well as us watching them too, because it is so important in that sense. So I think it is very well managed in that sense.
We think it's public money, so we have a fiduciary responsibility above just standard private investments.
Yeah, it's identified in the law, what we can and can't do. And it is a very conservative policy with a focus on liquidity and preservation of the assets.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Risk management, that's what Valley Schools Insurance Trust and the Workers' Comp, actually all of our trusts are about. It's making sure we identify those potentials, hazards, and make sure we have measures in place to take care of them. Loss prevention is the biggest thing. It's both incident reporting and getting that you have that incident, looking at the root causes of what happened and making sure you adjust in the future. Valley Schools provides a lot of training to its members on what they need to do when there is an incident, how to report it, take pictures, gather statements of evidence, etc. A good risk management program includes health and safety training, and that not only yields lower costs, but most importantly, it provides a safe environment in which our teachers and staff can work, and most importantly, student learning is optimized. I mean, that's what we're here for. Not only are members trained on what to do when things go wrong, but Valley School staff are on the scene very quickly after things happen to assist our members in the documentation process. You know, why self-insure? Self-insurance lowers costs, but it also allows you to have more control over the payment of claims, over designing programs, and really, we're able to tailor the program to meet our needs. Back when we were in the days of being fully insured, I was actually experienced that. Old person. Veteran. You just signed up for the policy. You really didn't have any service there to speak of at all. There was nothing to take care of you. That's the nice thing about being self-insured, kind of on your own, is you can design these programs to take care of you. Services that Valley Schools provide are numerous. Safety training, loss prevention, claims management, facility inspections, playground inspections. We run motor vehicle department record checks, accident and incident investigations, project management, law enforcement interface, and all kinds of, much more than I just listed.
We do appreciate the services that they do provide. I'll tell you, I get a copy of every site inspection. So Valley Schools goes around and inspects every single one of our sites and identifies levels of risk that are out there, and the ones that are coded red that are high risk, you know, I'm emailing our facilities administrator asking, hey, do you see that? Do we have a school dude work order? What are we doing to address this? And also sometimes they'll even point out this was on the inspection last year. And so we do try to be as proactive as possible to identify that, and we do appreciate the services that are being provided with Valley Schools in that sense.
You know, what's interesting is having sat in some of those meetings, even the three districts will, if Peoria or Deer Valley or PUS or Paradise Valley have a big claim or something they didn't pay attention, or they didn't fix something they were supposed to, the other two districts give them the evil eye. And give them a hard time, literally, you know, and just in a professional way. But it's interesting how not only are we, you know, self-managing with the management group, very, very cautious, working hard. Tom Bach, amazing what he does as well and his staff. But the districts will look at each other. Why didn't you take care of that? And even better, here's what we're doing at our district to avoid those types of claims. Trip and fall, for example, is one of the largest claims on the liability side. But here's what we're doing to avoid that, and you see everybody taking notes going, okay, I'm going to implement that in our district. So it's so much better than, you know, as Mr. Elliott said, just buying a policy and you get a little brochure every couple of months. I mean, this is heavily managed and heavily overseen.
President Bullock, I appreciate the comments. There is a collaborative approach as we're going through some of these. There is a difficulty in the sense that we go through a lot of these. From the side, especially Mr. Bach, as he's going around inspecting, there's an expectation that we have unlimited funds and we can fix everything. The problem is, and the reality is it is more and more difficult every single year to stay on top of this and to, because I do believe you fix things ahead of time, you prevent the accident afterwards. The problem is we do not have unlimited funds, and so we do have to prioritize. And so luckily, Valley Schools is us. They work for us and are part of us, and so they work with us in that sense, but it is difficult because we do see how much risk there can be out there, and it would be nice to fix everything and eliminate all risk, but it is never going to be there, and we'll have to make that balance.
Right. Thank you.
Jumping now to the Valley Schools Employee Benefit Trust. This is probably one that you guys probably are most familiar with. This is our health benefit. This is one that we talk about the most. This is one related to budgets, and this is probably the one we've had the best success in the last couple of years. Contributions, $22 million to pay for it, and you could see operating expenses of about $18 million. So we're having a net income of over $4 million, and then a net change in position 4.6. And so overall, the beginning reserves were 9.8 million, and they grew to 14.4. So that is really good. So we're talking our paid claims this year, or the year ending June 30th, 2015, decreased by 7%. So we had a good year the previous year, and just had another good year last year. And so our reserves continue to grow.
Mr. Hicks, sorry not to interrupt you again. Go back to the previous slide, if you don't mind. It's very, very important, and we brought this up before, to understand what those reserves are. It's not cash in the bank that we can start spending it. If I had a piece of wood here, I'd knock on it, because that is unheard of to have that kind of increase in reserves, especially in this climate of, increasing insurance claims, increasing cost per claim. It's literally a miracle from a financial point of view, and the fact that, unfortunately, we really can't, as much as we have so many things we need money for, we can't touch that, because next year we may not be so lucky and get hit with a lot of large claims, and that $5 million extra just disappears.
Well, President Bullock, members of the board, I agree, and talking with Mr. Elliott earlier this week in preparation for this, I think he used a good word, good term of sometimes you're riding the wave, and sometimes you do have a lot of good things are happening, and but it doesn't always happen that way, and so you do have to prepare for when it doesn't. And now I wasn't here the previous few years, but we had those years where we were having expenses exceeding revenues year over year, and I think there were some tough changes that had to happen in some of our plan and our plan document that made some of that. Some of it was the retirees moving them to the state retirement plan, and there were some tough choices, but we're now, I guess, riding the wave of some good stuff happening in the last couple of years.
Which is good, because this is the time when your budget is so low. This is the time you want those reserves not to being hit hard by high claims. So how nice is this, again, knock on wood. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Two things stick out to me on that. First of all, wellness, only $1,200 going into wellness. Maybe you could explain what that is, and ACA fees.
I could let Mr. Elliott talk about the ACA fees, but the wellness program, that is the actual costs associated at Valley Schools on that. We do additional things in prep wellness. We give ACA, HSA contributions.
Right.
And so I wouldn't say that's the only amount we spend on wellness, because we incentivize, if you fill out and participate in the prep wellness, you get an additional $250. That's not represented here. It's on a different line with the HSA contributions.
Because we do that by ourselves, so it doesn't go through Valley.
It's coded on another line under HSA contributions, so it's just not caught under
see.
wellness per se. That might be the actual cost that is that Valley Schools is incurring that cost on the wellness program at their level. So it could be some management, or we ask them to pick up some costs, donate some wellness items, or you might know exactly.
I don't.
Okay. But would you like to explain the ACA fees?
Yes. Affordable Care Act. The big fee is the reinsurance fee. When they set the Affordable Care Act up, they knew that some insurers were going to go into the marketplace and some weren't going to be as successful as others. And so they set this program up where everyone pays a per person fee. each year for the first 3 years. So last year was the first year of the fee, and off the top, it was $63 per member for everyone in your plan. This year, it is $44, next year it is $27, and then it's supposedly going to go away. There's also another small fee called the CORI, and that stands for something about research. The R is on the research side. Forgive me, I can't remember. It's PCORI. I can't remember what it all stands for. It's a very nominal fee. Last year was $1, this year's $2 per member. Again, it goes into some research, and I can't recall what it is, but those are the two ACAs. So we should see the ACA continue to drop significantly. There'll always be a small amount there for the CORI fee. The reinsurance should only be for the first 3 years. This report is the experience report, and sit on the Employee Benefit Trust Board. You've seen this report before. There's a lot going on. What this experience report does, it compares the contributions for the medical plan and the expenses to the medical plan. And from there comes a ratio. And I just want you to focus on column M, third from the end. Down at the bottom it says 72%. That means your expenses were only 72% of what you put in. That's a good year. That's what generates your increase of $4.6 million in fund balance. Last year it was 79%. Or excuse me, the year before this was 79. But as Mr. Hicks was talking about earlier, you're riding the wave right now. The 3 years before that were 129, 133, and 113. You got pounded. So you're correct, Mr. Bullock. You need to make sure you manage those reserves well, because you have your good years and you have your bad years. You guys are stroking right now, knock on wood. I saw today's November report, you're at 78, so the beat goes on. That's a good thing. This is the value of self-insuring. In a fully insured arrangement, that money went right to the insurance company. So it's a good thing.
Mr. Bullock, if I just comment to further illustrate this notion, during those bad years, and I happen to be right in the middle of a lot of that, as some of you were, what that does is it impacts directly employees across the district because of the increase in rates. So if you're trending at 129%, the actuarials will come in and you get a rate increase, just like you would do at home. Well, during those lean years, we had a little bit of reserve that we could buy down the increase, and that also happened to be at a time as when things were tanking very heavily, and so the impact on our employees was no raises, in fact, furlough days in some cases and some other things. We were able to hold the line as best as possible with increases in insurance rates because we could use some of those reserves. And so that's what that does. Now, we still had to do some other things by way of plan design, but that helps offset that during the bad years, if you will.
Thank you.
This slide just shows you the composition of the total expense in the Employee Benefit Trust. Most of the money is in medical and pharmacy claims, 85 to 90% generally. The fixed expenses includes about 10 to 15%, and this year the fixed expenses were only 11.5% of your total, and claims were 88.5%. And if you flip to the next slide, what's in those fixed expenses is Valley Schools hires United Healthcare to process its claims. We use the United Healthcare network. We have stop-loss coverage. We have EAP programs. We provide COBRA services. We provide consulting services, and numerous other services that we provide that go into that fixed expense. Each year, Valley Schools does a public records request of self-insured programs around the valley, just to compare. Are we making is our fixed expense competitive? And each year it has been very competitive. And we do the public records request, we document all the costs, and then we ship it off to Aon Hewitt Company, a consulting firm, to review it and say, yes, this is a valid way to look at this to determine if you are if your costs are competitive. In addition, I wanted to let you know that fixed expenses, 10 to 15%, the action's really in the claims and the medical claims. And each year we also do, Aon Hewitt does perform a network analysis for us to make sure that our network, the UHC network, is receiving competitive discounts out there in the marketplace. And again, each year that does come out that UHC's network is extremely competitive.
And Mr. Bullock, members of the board, I would just add on the network, the this expense analysis that's done by Valley Schools, and they certify, they actually send that out to all the members, so then we look at it. And I'll tell you, that is a very difficult analysis to do, because other self-insured, he just listed a bunch of the services provided. There's no perfect apples to apples. Everybody provides a little bit different, everybody has different stop-loss rates and everything, and so they do a good job of explaining all the variables into here's the 5 we're compared to see all the differences between and why we think we're still getting a pretty good deal with our fixed expenses on that sense.
And the most important thing is you're not buying a pencil. I mean, you're buying a service and you can't just judge it on cost
quantity.
alone, but you want to make sure you get the best cost.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, correct, a lot of variables.
The next slide was something we added last year, just because I think we were getting a question of how are we doing in comparison to others. So I just grabbed the 3 founding districts of Valley Schools, and then the average of all entities within Valley Schools. And there's 21 entities in Valley Schools, the Valley Schools Employee Benefit Trust, and you can see we're doing very well with our per member per month cost level. We're doing really good. So why self-insurance? This is why, for when you're doing really good like this, that you're able to retain that. The next program is the Workers' Compensation Pool. And this similar. We have contributions coming in. There is reinsurance, but that is much less, because first dollars coming out is our expense from Valley Schools, and so the cost of that reinsurance is lower. Once again, we have a change in net position, so we have our operating expenses under, so we added the 5.7, and our operating position increased.
Mr. Hicks, I'm sorry, I'm a beat behind. What explains the discrepancy from one district to another when we're using the same company?
Well, everybody has different claims. They actually have different.
Okay, so it's based on their.
They also could have different plans. They could have different employees that use it more, and different compensation made up on HSAs to PPOs from that standpoint.
Absolutely.
Good years, bad years, okay, that explains it.
It really is it. And all of our plan members, each district has different plan designs, so they get to design their own. But yeah, it's good year versus bad year.
Okay, very good.
So continuing with the workers' comp, operating expenses actually decreased by $300,000 from the previous year. That's a 25% decrease. And then the net position increased by the $352,000, and that's another 15% increase in the reserve. So once again, we had basically all 3 are moving in the same direction, in the sense that the ending net position is better than the starting net position for all 3 of our plans. And just wanted to look at some statistics on the workers' comp. Our claims actually increased year over year, and the average cost is about $4,300, even though we had a little bit better year. So the average cost per claim came down a little bit. And just as I was looking through the spreadsheets of all the different claims and everything, the thing that stood out, which is probably not standing out, it's probably as expected, slips, trips, and falls was 30% of all workers' comp were caused by slips, trips, and falls. Yeah, it is amazing, but it is expected.
In the workers' comp, it's really very similar to the property and liability pool. It's identifying your risks, assessing those things, and trying to put programs in place to minimize them. But we are seeing a lot of rising medical costs, especially in the workers' comp. It's been nice that Valley Schools handles its own claims, and it's negotiated significantly discounted rates from a lot of the carriers, not all of them, and there are mandated fees in Arizona, so it's tough to negotiate people down off those fees, but it has happened. In the 14-15 year, Valley Schools paid about 32% of what was billed, so that's a good number. And again, each year we provide a thorough reporting to our members, so they know the sources of the problems, and then we use this data in conjunction with the members to try and develop the loss programs to keep things down. The insurers are looking at risk when they price you out. So the more you can demonstrate that you're lowering your risk, the better off you're going to be, and that's a key thing for Valley Schools.
Excuse me, isn't it also part of this that all the bills that are being submitted from the insurance companies, are being reviewed a second time internally to validate the actual charge, that they're being, aligned up properly, and we're finding some extra cost. Is that part of that?
Yeah,
Or we're only paying
actually,
the percent of bill?
brought the bill paying in-house now. So we're actually scrutinizing all of the bills, and that's one of the best things I think they decided to do. And that's, again, the nice thing about being self-insured is you can sit in there and negotiate those settlements with people, and you can get your hands right on those bills. Because with the insurance companies, I'm not sure they always pay that close of attention. Even though it is their money.
I could tell you from personal experience in a previous district, when we were fully insured on our workers' comp, there were certain things that we knew did not happen either on site, and we would argue, and it was a small claim, and they just said, it's our policy, you bought the policy, you don't fight the right to make the decisions, and they would pay out. And sometimes it does get a little frustrating, because you don't want the word getting out that, hey, there's a, American Lottery, go say this and get a claim and get that. And although they're not always the biggest, you can see it's only $4,300, you do want to scrutinize that as much as possible. And when you're self-insured, the benefit is everything you save is dollars that stay with you.
And isn't it also that, past claims, I mean, when we talk about costs for workers' comp for this given year, it may not have been from an incident that happened this year. I mean, it's from prior years as well that may have flared up, or, something may have been continuing on. So it's not just a, calendar year or fiscal year. It's as long as that claim is still open, we could continue to see costs from that.
Yeah, that, and the workers' comp and the property liability,
Okay.
those liability claims, you could be talking about them for years before you actually write the check and pay the money.
Yes, that's a very true statement. And then the last is the Valley Schools Management Group. And this, just looking at the assets, here, the one big thing here, there is a big change. And so normally this is at the end here where it's kind of unassuming, but there is a huge change that a GASB 68 requirement is now required of all the governmental entities to now start recording net pension liabilities. And so Valley Schools, since they were started by the founding districts and actually started in Paradise Valley as employees of Paradise Valley, are state retirement ARS employees, so they're part of the state retirement system, and so they have to record their state retirement net pension liability. And you can see, if you scroll down a little bit more, the total net position shows a negative $3.5 million, and that's mainly because you can see right above it under net pension liability, there's a requirement now on the financial statements to include that $4 million portion, that's Valley Schools' portion of Arizona State Retirement System's net pension liability. The difficulty with this is it is a requirement to include it. We're going to have it included on our financial reports, and ours will be a much greater, since we're a lot larger than Valley Schools. And so Peoria will have a negative liability out there in a sense as well. And I'm not a CPA, but this feels like a mythical liability to me. This is not something that will ever be realized, especially the way state retirement laws are in place right now. It's an 8-year smoothing, and so when you have down years and they don't make their 8% return, it doesn't get fixed immediately the next year. They take 8 years going, and they set the rates, and they'll go either up or down based on how that is, and it's a long year out. They purposely did that to smooth out, and so you didn't have huge spikes and huge valleys. They wanted to smooth it out for predictability and everything, and with that comes now this requirement that we're going to be recording that, even though there's probably absolutely zero chance that we'll ever have to be liquidated and have to pay this liability at all. But now it makes all of our balance sheets look upside down in that sense. So, do you want to add anything on that?
Is that the same issue we were talking about before?
It is not the same issue. This
Different.
is from the Governmental Accounting Standards Board that's coming up with this requirement. And there's also a GASB 71 that's also going to be included in that sense too, that makes it even more confusing.
But similar in that it really doesn't do anything, really doesn't mean anything, it just makes us look bad.
Yeah, that's one way of summarizing up. I mean, there's no purpose for us in that from an operating standpoint, to have that net pension liability shown doesn't really do anything. We can't change anything. There are statutory requirements of how the actuarials come in and how they set their rates. We can't, as a member, do anything about this from that standpoint.
Who can we ask why?
Well, this is, President Bullock, members of the board, this is a federal issue. And so, still, yeah,
Come on, what, I mean,
Your local
Somebody
congressman or
spent-
states or a U.S.
somebody
senator.
spent a lot of time
They spend an incredible amount of time. The Government
doing
Accounting-
that.
Yeah. The Government Accounting Standards Board is the one who sets it. It's the rulemaking authority for government financial reporting. I am a CPA, and I can tell you, it does not make a lot of sense to me. I understand the theoretical and conceptual reason why they did it, but the bottom line is, it's a liability of the state retirement system. It's not a liability of the Valley Schools Management Group, or certainly yours is not a liability of the Peoria School District. So I agree with Mr. Hicks. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But
It's easier to throw it back on the schools, have them account for it and show it on their income statement than a state system.
I guess. Yeah. This is nationwide, you have to do this, so this is governmental accounting throughout the country.
Great. Any other questions?
Going back to workers' compensation and always trying to control costs and things of that nature, and again, I don't know, I'm asking from a newbie perspective here, but do we have a need, an issue, anything around a return to work situation when somebody does go out on workers' comp? Do they have to qualify, medically, physically, to return back to the same position that they have? Or is there something of a policy that we have in place that can allow them to come back to work, start earning, get off of workers' comp, but may be able to be assigned into a different role, less
light duty.
physical, less light duty, if you will, as I was just told. So do we have something like that in place, and do we see much of a need for one, or just asking?
Yeah. We do not have an official return-to-work program in that sense. We do talk about it almost every single year. Do we see the need? Our costs are equal or better than those that have the return-to-work programs in place right now. We do manage it, and we are talking to the employees and to getting with doctors' notes and the physicians what's in place. And so, although we don't have a formal program in place that is that intense, and some of that could be that maybe we're doing better because we don't have as much, and not to presume that a return-to-work program eliminates fraud, but some of that is to get people back to work as soon as possible. And so we seem to have lower out of people missing work and lower costs of the expenses. And so we could put a lot of time and effort to put that in, and it might show no benefit whatsoever because we're managing and monitoring that right now without that formal program in place. But that doesn't mean it's ever off the table and we'd never consider it. It is a tool to use in that sense. It's just right now what that would fix is not really broken in that sense right now.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting that it is broken, I'm just, it's always nice to have something,
Yeah.
you don't always have to play that card, but it's always nice to have that up your sleeve if it ever is needed. But I guess I'm looking, do we have some, I guess, is our unofficial policy or the way we behave similar to that? I mean, are we looking for avenues to get people back? Is that receptive to those that go on workers' comp? I'm looking for more of the dynamics of how we're acting in that capacity now.
Yeah. President Bullock, members of the board, we are working in probably more of an informal state of working with the employee of what are you able to do? Oh, I can't do this X, Y, or Z. Well, that's not what the note says, and getting people back in as soon as possible. And so we are doing that from our department here, or in the HR department with our benefits staff. And so we're doing probably an informal, where we're pressuring. We don't have the formal practice of when somebody's out and they were in a certain position, we will bring them back to answer phones just to get them in. Those don't really solve a lot of, now they're doing more work answering phones. That normally helps people that were embellishing in a sense and forces them to then declare, go get another doctor's note to come back and say, now I'm cleared. We're working with the staff normally now to make sure they're coming back in a reasonable time that's acceptable with those type of injuries and stuff.
Perfect, thank you.
But I would say we talk about it every year to see when we need a formalized plan in that sense. We'll continue to evaluate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, board members. Other questions, comments, concerns? No? Thank you very much. Mr. Elliott, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Mr. Hicks, thank you as always. Appreciate the answers to the questions, and we know you're always available. If we forgot to ask something, we can shoot a quick email off, and a report will come henceforth. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right, next item on the agenda, number 9, one of our favorite things to talk about, career and technical education programs of study. And we welcome aboard Dr. Beltram. Thank you so much. Very cool tie, which is kind of the opposite of your personality.
Maybe. I like to serve our carved roast beef, right?
Yeah, very nice.
What do you mean? Grinchy or?
No, it's opposite her personality. Her tie is grinchy. She's always bubbly and happy.
Right.
But what she just said would allude to the fact that after she leaves, she's not. I may be reading more into it than I can, but we're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you. President Bullock, members of the board, Dr. Santarelli, administration, special guests. Today's presentation is to inform you about the Peoria Unified School District career and technical education programs of study. What is There we go, got it. Thank you. Peoria CTE, like other districts who receive federal CTE grants, are a part of the Arizona Programs of Study Consortia and have to provide programs of study for our students. So our objectives for today are twofold. One, to talk about what is a program of study, and 2, where is Peoria Unified School District's progress on programs of study. So first, we're going to talk about what is a program of study. You'll notice on this slide that there are 2 definitions of a program of study. The first definition I'd like to call your attention to, and that is that there are certain terms in this definition. One is that the courses have to be academic and career and technical education, and that it needs to prepare our students for post-secondary and career success. The second definition is called the rigorous program of study, and it does not mean that it's any more rigorous than any other program of study. It's just the name that the U.S. Department of Education put on their exploratory grant for programs of study. Peoria was one of 3 school districts in Arizona to receive this rigorous program of study grant, and Arizona was one of 6 states selected. The program of study framework, these are the 10 frameworks that Peoria and the 17 other school districts nationwide worked on in providing feedback to the U.S. Department of Education of what worked and what didn't work. As a result of this research and this 3-year grant, we found that Peoria and Arizona are well positioned. So what is a program of study? There are certain components that it must have. One, it has to be provided at the high school level, but there has to be college connections. There has to be academic, so English, math, science connections, as well as CTE. It needs to be non-duplicative in nature. So I'm going to give myself as an example. When I was in high school, I took Accounting 1 and Accounting 2. Then I went to Glendale Community College and I took Financial Accounting. Then I went to ASU and I took Financial Accounting. That is what we don't want our students to do. We do want it to be non-duplicative, and that our students get college credit while they're in high school. College credit is key, and that this college credit leads towards an industry credential or certificate and dual enrollment towards an associate or bachelor's degree. So in essence, in short, a program of study is the GPS for the future for our students. So this is an example of a stackable credential. A stackable credential is a series of industry certificates in education earned through career-focused programs of study. This is the stackable credential that we received for the rigorous program of study grant. Let me explain, and I'm going to start at the bottom where it says dual enrollment. So in this particular program, the Early Childhood Education Program, there are 2 options for our students to receive dual enrollment. The first is the traditional dual enrollment, where our teachers deliver the college credit in the classroom. The second is that our students pass the Arizona State Technical Assessment on Early Childhood Education and can receive up to 9 dual enrollment credits. These 8 or 9 credits, either option that they choose, are embedded within the second layer in the stackable credential called the CDA, or the Child Development Associate Certificate or Industry Credential. The 16 credits or the remaining credits, either 7 or 8 credits that they have, can be fulfilled at Glendale Community College. Let's take a student, for example, would take an additional 12 dual enrollment credits: English, math, arts, sciences, modern language. So they would have a total of the 16 credits in the CDA plus 12 credits, a total of 28 credits towards
the next level, which is the associate's degree in early childhood. We have a partnership with Glendale Community College with the help of Kristen Pazinski, and the students can earn this associate's degree in early childhood a maximum of 68 credits. Now here's part of our partnership. Glendale Community College has a partnership with NAU, Northern Arizona University, and once the students complete this degree, it's part of their 90-30 program. So in other words, if a student finishes an associate's degree with 68 credits, it transfers as 90 credits to NAU, and all they have to do is finish 30 more credits to finish their bachelor's degree in early childhood. The power for our students is that Glendale Community College offers the NAU classes on campus. This stackable credential saves our students time and money. So the second part of our presentation is where is the Peoria Unified School District's progress on programs of study? First of all, we have over 80 programs of study. That's a quick breakdown that includes industry certifications like ASE certification for automotive, CNA certification or certified nursing assistant for nursing, and our CDA just as an example. There's over 30 industry credentials. There's over 30 associate's degrees through the dual enrollment. There's over 15 bachelor's degrees through our programs of study. All 25 CTE programs have stackable credentials, so they have industry credentials and or dual enrollment that leads to an associate's or bachelor's degree. We've also been asked to present at the National Association of CTE Information Conference, the Future of CTE Summit, the National Association for Career and Technical Education, the Arizona Association for Career and Technical Education, the Western Maricopa Programs of Study Consortia, as well as Arizona Programs of Study. And most recently, we were asked to present in New Mexico for their programs of study. And just as of yesterday, we were just notified by the International Center for Leadership and Education that we have been selected to present on our programs of study at model schools. 50% of CTE teachers are dual enrollment certified. 96% of our CTE programs offer dual enrollment. 25 of our CTE programs of study have over 12 college credits or dual enrollment towards an associate's or bachelor's degree. And over 40 dual enrollment credits are available through the associates in accounting, marketing, and business. I would like to provide a few thank yous. One of the gentlemen had to step out, but I have to thank our teachers and the CTE staff for making this happen because it takes a team. Jim Hawk was here earlier. He is the coordinator for our industry credentialing program, and as you can imagine, it's quite tremendous. Mr. Hal Borhauer is our co-chair for the advisory commission, and if it weren't through our advisory council and commission members providing us advice on which industry credential and degrees that would be available, that we wouldn't have that. Also, members of the advisory commission, Mrs. Pingarelli, as well as Mr. Bullock, thank you very much. So I will sit for questions.
Thank you very much. Start over here, Mrs. Doan, any questions or comments?
This does look very impressive. I'm very happy with it. I just don't understand, like where it says Peoria's progress, it says 50% of our CTE teachers are dual enrollment certified, but 96% of the programs have dual enrollment. So explain that to me. Do we need more dual certified teachers?
It just depends. So that's a great catch. So President Bullock and Mrs. Doan, what that means is that of the 110 CTE teachers, that we have about 100 or 55 CTE certified teachers. So not all of our teachers, let's say in the culinary program, are all certified. But there is at least one on the campus that might be able to provide that. Having that opportunity then allows our students to travel around for campuses if they need to get dual enrollment, but where the options are available.
So they're not losing out on their dual enrollment because of lack of qualified teachers?
At this point, I would say no.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bullock, too, many of the lower level courses do not require a dual enrollment teacher.
Correct.
So that also contributes to the percentages as it kind of builds. As they get to the higher levels, then they are dual enrollment, but the lower levels are not, and so that contributes to the fact that you don't need a dual enrollment teacher for one of the lower level CTE courses.
Absolutely.
That being said, if I'm reading between the lines, we would like to have more dual enrollment teachers, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, that's good.
If I could too, just certainly, and this is something that this board will be talking more about as we go through the spring semester, is this whole notion of college and career readiness and what we're doing to continue to prepare, and we have some thinking around that. In addition to that, the Higher Learning Commission has changed some of the expectations for dual enrollment certification, which have become more rigorous, and therefore that will be a bit of a challenge for us too. So continue to expand the number of dual enrollment teachers at a time in which the Higher Learning Commission has created a more rigorous requirement to be dual enrollment certified is something our CTE and curriculum instruction staff are working on at this present time.
Good, thank you.
And that won't knock out any current CT or dual enrollment qualified teachers?
Ms. Bullock, Ms. Pingrelli, yes. There are a number of dual enrollment teachers, and there's a phase-in, and certainly we can get into more depth if you'd like, but given the current changes that are in place, it will knock out portions of our staff that do not have that level of certification to teach dual enrollment, and so our staff is working under Ms. Bazinski's direction to kind of get ahead of that curve as that kind of starts to hit us. CTE kind of falls in a different category. We have dual enrollment teachers in some of the content areas as well, and that is going to have a significant impact on us potentially.
And when does that change? Has that change already happened?
As of September of 2017, the teachers will have to meet the new requirements for academic dual enrollment.
This also has a significant impact on the junior college faculty, and in working closely with the community colleges. As you know, they have many of their instructors that are not full-time, but work in many cases, local high schools, and teach the college credit-bearing courses for the community colleges. In fact, it impacts them as well. And so the community colleges are working to get ready for this transition. Originally, we were told that this transition was going to happen earlier, and they've given us a little bit more time to gear up. And part of our challenge as a district will be to determine what is it that we can do to incentivize more of our teachers to become dual enrollment certified. And you'll be hearing more about that in the upcoming weeks and months. Thank you.
You channeled me there. That's exactly.
Yeah, but that's important too, because again, we are in, dare I say the word, competition with many different learning communities, schools, other options, and to be able to provide that just continues to set PUSD apart and above, because again, we're really talking to parents. We provide X for your student, your children, why they need to come here, and being ahead of the curve, being able to offer that just makes PUSD more appetizing to bring your children, not even to think of other options, even though they're available, and you certainly can take advantage of them. So that's why we, I believe, as a board, have to keep supporting and pushing that, because that's going to become more and more, in my personal opinion, more critical to be stellar as you and your staff are making the program, but even to the next level, to keep competitive.
And from a parent's perspective, certainly economical when you're talking about fractions on the dollar of getting college credit while they're still in high school.
Quick question for you. Thank you for your presentation, as always. You know we're big fans. 2 questions, though. The first question may seem a little naive, or I wasn't thinking about it, but I think it'll make sense when I finish it. Are we messaging, well, what I'm saying, I mean, it's going to sound, because I think we do, but do we do it, and that, what I just said, making us more competitive, do we message it and inform our student population enough? Do we feel that we're there where every student, maybe that's a catch-all term, but every student is aware of the opportunities available? Do we, and then what that's going to lead into is my second question, what can the board do to help that? Because what you have continued to help create in your staff. I know you always give, you're one of the first to give credit to your staff, and we appreciate that. But what your staff and you have created is nationally recognized, certainly state recognized. It's amazing. Are we letting every student know that these amazing opportunities are available, and then they decide which way they want to go? Do we think we're at 100% messaging where there's no shadow of a doubt that we know what we offer?
President Bullock, my nickname might be Perfect Patty, but I don't think there's any program that's absolutely perfect, so I would not say it's 100% message. As for how we get that out, I do think all of you have the brochure here. I have to give credit to our guidance counselors as well. They have a program that they call ECAP, the Education Career Action Plan, and they meet with their students annually, all of their students annually, to determine what career do they want to track for. So what classes do you take while you're in high school and beyond? They have received training on programs of study. They have a training programs of study toolkit, and that they can give that to the parents and the students as well. Is it 100% reach? I'd say no. We always have work to do.
Yeah, but I mean, you understand what I'm saying is that it is so amazing. It provides such an opportunity. That's great. But the most amazing opportunity locked in a box or a garage, and I know it's not, but I'm saying it's not an opportunity. So are we doing, because ultimately as board members, and I believe I speak for the board, it's our goal to support what makes Peoria amazing. So in our sphere of influence, which has its limitations, obviously, so that's what the end goal is. As you continue to come talk to us, what is it the board can do to help, whether it's messaging, whether it's programs, whatever it can be, whether it's just a loud voice, to make sure that everyone knows the amazing opportunity that CTE provides to us and our children.
Thank you for redirecting me to your second question. I apologize for not answering it. There are multiple vehicles that we currently have that can further message besides our counselors, our wonderful vehicles besides Career Center specialists. I guess I would ask maybe two things of the board members. And one is the opportunity when Dr. Santarelli presents the council initiatives. One of them is called the My Life program.
Mm-hmm.
This is heavily tied to the My Life program because it's one of many activities, aligned experiences our students have that will help them be college and career ready. So I would say that we need to continually promote our My Life program for all of our students.
Okay.
And I guess the second one would be we have an annual career exploration day. We just held it on Saturday, November 7th. I know many of you have attended this event in the past. I would then encourage our parents and our students and more to attend, and that if maybe we can, again, I'd encourage your support as well as others to make that even bigger and better, because we have counselors, career center specialists, and we have information on the programs of study. And the last 2 years has just been, the comments from the parents have said, I can't believe that they have this kind of opportunity while they're in high school, and it saves me time and money. And so it's getting out there, but I would say if we could promote that event even more as another aligned activity, that would be my recommendation.
Good. And thank you for giving us specifics, because we need, we all have jobs during the day with things going on. This is a part-time volunteer kind of thing, and we love it, but it helps to have, bullet points that we can work on. Okay, I can message, I can Facebook, I can email before events. I didn't think about that.
Right.
Just that, although it's little, maybe brings extra 10 people to an event. Well, great, because those 10 then maybe Facebook something or take a picture or said, hey, their message gets out to 10 more people. So thank you for giving us that, little things that we can work on in between our day-to-day thing as well. So we appreciate what you do, and your staff, of course.
Thank you very much. It's a great team.
Good. Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next item. And everybody has, board members, you all got your brochure? Okay, good, thank you. Move on to the next item is number 10, report and discussion on local, state, and federal legislative issues and activities. Dr. Centennial, do you have anything for us tonight?
I do not, Mr. Bullock.
You will in about 30 days, right?
Things will start to heat up in mid-January, sir, yes.
We look forward to that. Number 11, report on it. Request for agenda items for future governing board meetings. The chance for us board members to put something get something on the docket for the future. Disconnect. Nope. Okay, clean sweep. Next item, consideration of approval of the consent agenda. I would like to, because I haven't for quite a while, pull number 15C, the donations report. There's some, again, all donations are great, but there's some really large ones. So if you don't mind pulling 15C as its own item, and then we can move from there. So as soon as that, Ms. McCarty changes that, then we'll have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, unless any other items would like to be pulled by board members.
Mr. Bullock, I move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 15C.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved by Mrs. Connect, seconded by Mr. Johnigan to approve the consent agenda as stated with 15C pulled. Cast your votes, please. All right, passes 5-0. Thank you very much. If you don't mind then pulling our donations report. Let me get on to the next item. 21C it becomes. Just a quick run through. Thank you. A couple want to bring up the Gen Youth Foundation, $4,000 for the Fuel Up to Play 60 program, which is, again, getting our kids exercise and strengthened. Move down again, we have from, $1,200 Centennial Packbackers for the football program, which we just celebrated tonight. Wanted to bring that up. Page 2, we have a few. Heritage Elementary PTA athletic equipment. The reason why I love we love everything, but the PTA, that's great. That's the parents and the local community raising money for a specific school that their children go to and their heart is into. So we appreciate PTAs. $32, $38, and 80 cents for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Arizona for school support for the PUSD schools with blue donation bins. And the last two I want to talk about is a check for $7,000, that's amazing, $840 from Buick Drive for your students, Sunrise Mountain High School. That took place last month. And the next one down is $1,500 for football, sports, medicine, rehabilitation, Arrowhead Incorporated for Sunrise Mountain High School athletic program. So thank you very much to all the donations we get, because this is, again, some programs struggle, and then a PTA, a local car dealership, a doctor's office will come in, help bring some money in to get that program up to where it needs to be to give us the assistance we need. So we greatly appreciate every dollar we get. So thank you very much. I will move that we approve the donations report 21C as stated. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Mrs. Doan. Cast your votes, please. All right, 5-0. Thank you very much. Next item, 22, Budget Facilities Planning and Construction Report. We'll pull that up real quick. Again, all these reports are available online in the board packet that's available as a PDF file, accessible by any type of computer or smartphone. This is a great chance to see where your money is going, where our tax money is going, since we're all residents here as well. And thank you for the detail, by the way. That really helps to see exactly. And it's actually nice. Everybody can look at what's happening at their school, down to the penny. Gotta love transparency. All right, thank you very much. Number 23, the district enrollment report for November 2015. This highlights every elementary school and every high school that we have, the change in enrollment for the month of November. And at the very last page actually is a summation of total changes. There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, next item on the agenda is 24, District Budget Report for the month of November 2015. The more I get into understanding school finance, not only is it far more complicated than college calculus, but it's amazing on how many different pots of money that we have, and even maybe worse or more importantly, how many of those are mandated that only have specific places you can spend the money. It's hard coming from the private sector where you can just take, oh, there's money over here, I need it over here, sweep. You can't do that in a school. That's, I didn't know that until I got on the board, so that's, I would like to pass that on to people who are looking, that we sometimes have money in a certain pot that we just can't use even though it's sitting there collecting dust. Number 25, report on upcoming meetings and events. There we go. For board members, on January 12th, 8 a.m., our special board meeting retreat at Peoria High School, Old Main, where we will have our annual retreat to discuss items for the next year. Dr. Centennial?
Thank you, Ms. Bullock. The meeting will start at 8. We'll be serving some breakfast items at 7:30 if you'd like to get there before 8 o'clock to join us for some breakfast thinking food.
What is breakfast thinking food? Obviously, high protein, low carb?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No bagels. Donuts and breakfast burritos, wonderful. I would encourage everyone to look at January 22nd if your schedule permits. I mentioned this our last board meeting, 9 a.m. is a district spelling bee. If you've never been to a district spelling bee, again, not only is it humbling for how many words you forgot to spell or can't spell, and it's great as an adult, you don't have to admit it, because I was asked that, I judged that 2 years ago. They said, well, can you spell it? I'm like, well, why would I? Because it would ruin it for the kids. It's wonderful. I would suggest doing that instead of being embarrassed like I was, because I didn't know how to spell something that an 8th grader did.
SOMETHING.
NEXT. Number 26, draft agenda for the January 14th, 2016, already another year.
He said you didn't know how to spell something. He's helping you out.
Welcome to Amateur Night at the PUSD Lounge. Don't forget to tip your server. We're here all week. It's available as well. Presentation, implementation of all-day kindergarten. I am looking forward to that report, number 11. Ms. Connect, I'm sure you are too.
What's that?
Exactly, number 11. All-day kindergarten report, KINDERGARTEN. Next item on our agenda, the board member opportunity to readdress agenda items. Board members, we want to go back in time and pull anything up to have further discussion. Okay. Last item on the agenda before we break for Christmas, New Year's, and all things cold and snowy. Number 28, consideration of adjournment. We need a motion and a second to go home.
I move.
Seconded?
I second.
All right, moved by Ms. Connect, seconded by Mr. Johnigan. Cast your votes. No, my last board meeting, I'm going to vote no. All right, everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, be safe. Thank you.
I think so. No.